So our next speaker is, I would say, one that we're truly lucky to have, not just because of the visionary perspectives and the direction of the industry, but also because his airplane landed only a couple of hours ago. So Steve's the founder and CEO and CTO of Artificial Intelligence Technology Solutions, and is one of today's most outspoken and visionary voices in artificial intelligence, robotics, and security. He'll be sharing his insights to the rapidly changing industry and how safety and security workers can prepare for the future of AI technologies. Steve Reinharz. Thanks for having me.
The security industry has been lying to itself for at least the last 25 years. Now, I put up a little bit of a sensational headline to grab everybody right off the bat. But over our time together today, what I want to talk about are some ways that the industry has been built, like a bit of a pyramid, that AI is changing today. And my goals from this is to prove that it's changing. It's going to prove that the existing structure are going to have some radical new visions happen over the next several years in the hopes that for you and your careers and the organizations that you work for and represent, that hopefully you're better equipped to weather the change, to take advantage of the change for your benefit and for the benefit of the organizations that you're part of. I want to clarify right off the bat, this is specific to security cameras, access control, alarm response, guards, that side of security. The work that Lena shared, of course, is another side of security. We're not touching that right now. We're talking about the industry that spends tens of billions of dollars a year on security. So that's what we're going to do today. I really welcome feedback after the session. I really welcome a exciting Q&A. Hopefully there's something provocative or you can challenge me on or we can talk about. So I'm really looking forward to that. Now, I'm born in Montreal, grew up in Toronto, emigrated to the States 30 years ago, where I opened up my first security company. But when I was at Western, I wrote a book on artificial intelligence. And it's really just been something that I have just been all about most of my life, for all intents and purposes. And I want to get a feel for the audience here. So I just want a little show of hands, okay? So give me a show of hands if you're in the guarding industry. Okay, great. A lot of guarding folks here. Give me a show of hands if you're in the monitoring industry, even if there's some crossover on your guarding side. Okay, a lot of the same hands went up. Tell me if you're a systems integrator, selling and installing cameras and service plans and access control. Used to be. Okay, we're lightly represented on integrators. Tell me if you're law enforcement related. A few law enforcement related. Okay, so that's perfect. This is a great audience for me because speaking to the guarding folks and the monitoring folks and the response folks, this really hits the mark for you, or at least so I think. And you guys will judge me afterwards. Thanks for sharing where you're from. Now, this scenario is something that happens every day, and we all know it happens, and depending on where you're at in the food chain of your organization, you might be working the call at 3:15 in the morning, or you might be reading an after-action report, or it might be later in the day when the customer calls you and says something happened at 3:15, why didn't you do anything? And what we're going to do is we're going to talk through that process. We're going to talk how companies solve that today. We're going to talk about how AI is going to fundamentally change that, creating new opportunities for people and organizations. Now, I estimate that in the United States and Canada, we have over 500 million cameras. 500 million cameras. And I'm pretty sure that most of those cameras were installed by somebody who said, we're going to watch this camera. We're going to watch this camera. If anything bad happens, we're going to go out there. We're going to take care of it. This happened tens of millions of times. And in my estimation, we have only about 5 million cameras in the United States and Canada that are going to some type of control room or monitoring station where people are paying to have them monitored. And I want to get those numbers out to you guys right now because this is where the opportunity comes. There's 495 million cameras maybe that somebody spent some money on to be monitored and aren't. And that's where the crux of our opportunity lies with AI. The funny thing about this is that when we grow our businesses in guarding, what do? We add more people. We just add more people. Like, that's our solution. That's the solution. This is the lie. This is what I'm saying. This is the problem. Hey, we get more business. I'm going to add more people. I'm going to add more people. That's it. I don't think that's a great solution because it multiplies a lot of the problems that we have when we're managing people. I was talking to a customer yesterday, and the client was telling me literally that the quality of employee in some cases, and albeit this is pay driven, right? So you can get you get what you pay for, but working a call center, the night shift staff didn't like making outbound calls because they'd get yelled at sometimes by the person they're calling. And so they started to have a bias of not making the calls. So at 3:15, they wouldn't make the call. They might ignore the event and move on. Like, this is real life. If you're in this business, you know that this is real life. And it's a problem. We're not servicing our customers well. But our customers don't have any other choice, so they have to do it. This is not a healthy business. This is a business ripe for transformation and disruption. And it's happening right now. And we're obviously going through this right now, what's changing. We're going to definitely hit why the big guys have a real problem changing. And it's classic business transformation issues. We went through how we have to hire another person every time because the idea is, hey, I get a call, I'm going to have a human monitor it. Then I have to have a human verify it. Then a human dispatch it and a human respond to it, right? Human. Now, in some of your call centers, you might be using AI screening false positives. Great. It's a huge boon, huge advantage to you. Really helps cut the noise and keep things focused. Adds to operator fatigue, creates a bunch of other issues nonetheless, but it's definitely a step in the right direction, right? But this idea of human is just not healthy for us. And the biggest companies can't solve this. And the reason is that their entire business plan is built on those people. You know, if you talk to folks from Securitas or G4S or now Allied Universal, they're big staffing agencies. I was talking with a few years ago with the VP of Human Resources for Allied Universal who managed the company east of the Mississippi, okay? Allied East at the time, as they called it. And we're sitting there talking, and he says, yeah, he's like, I got to hire a lot of people this year. And I was like, how many people do you have to hire? And he says, 120,000 people. I can't make up that statistic. And I said to him, for the whole country? He's like, no, just for my region, just for the East Coast. It's remarkable. Imagine the resources spent. And then we start talking about the stories of when you hire someone, they might not actually start, on and on, all those issues. This is not a solution. But if you're a big company, you're driving your revenue based on billing people's time out. So how can they go in with a big AI solution when it's going to so dramatically cannibalize their existing revenues? From a pure business standpoint, it makes more sense for them to stack cash, ride this thing down, getting as much as they can along the way, and then see where the chips lie, versus trying to make some big transformation in the meantime. That's why we have such opportunity at the small and mid levels today using AI. Very interesting. And it's akin to other industries that are going through technological transformation right now driven by AI. You know, I've studied business transformation. I've studied the various industrial revolutions that we've been through, really focusing on the third industrial revolution, which was the introduction of the microprocessor, and really studying hey, how does that affect people? And reading old news articles, well, the microprocessor is going to take all these jobs, and AT&T is closing down 10 call centers, like switchboard operators. Remember, you'd call it the switchboard operator, right? Well, we had buildings full of switchboard operators, and they're gone. And banking, I remember banking, because banking in Canada, when we started using automated teller machines in the late 70s and 80s, there was some hysteria in the country, of course, as there's with any change, that banks were going out of business and tellers would have no jobs, right? And what happened? What happened was now we've got more regional banks, we've got more access to banking than ever before, costs lowered, banks expanded, industry is as healthy as could be. AT&T, for example, in the States, is this example. They changed all their switchboard operators, lowered costs, increased expansion. That's where the piece of the puzzle for the 495 million cameras to go after fits in. As we use AI to lower costs, there's some price elasticity, which allows us to go get more business. That's literally the process that we're going through right now. And it can't be stopped. What's happening right now, very specific, I'll tell you what's happening right now, is we're moving to intelligent AI agents. These are agents, and everybody in this room has to be using an LLM on a daily basis for some reason. I'm going to assume that. It's just how it is. I'm going to assume that some of you are using agents for more advanced things, like screening your emails or doing automated responses, stuff like that, right? Well, now what we have is AI agents working the flow that happens when an alert comes in. And we're talking about some advanced functionality that, might seem a little out there to some people. Well, you're going to get the alert coming in. You're going to use AI to validate, verify the alert intelligently. You're going to see what the SOPs are for that particular site and location. You're going to marry it up against what you see, just like a human would. And you're going to do the next step in accordance with what those SOPs are, intelligently. And part of those next steps are going to be making a phone call, or making 5 phone calls, or doing all kinds of things. And the AI will now make that phone call and have intelligent conversations with the responders, writing the notes, doing everything the human operator would do, but doing it better, doing it without hesitation. Remember, the call center operator doesn't want to make the calls at 3:15 in the morning because he doesn't want to get yelled at. AI didn't care. So think about how this rebalances the tens of billions of dollars that are in this industry. If as an industry, we can say, hey, all of that work is really clerk work. I can automate that work. That shouldn't be my job. My job should be response, something that humans do. I want to get bodies to the site as quickly as I can, intelligently. I want to use my resources to actually provide better security. Right now, we spend so much time in security managing these workforces, managing these systems. We're or managing the humans, not managing security and response. Let's get out there. So we have these systems. You could call the guard directly, call 5 people directly, and then you have some features that you never had before. Let's take a scenario. You've got guard response on a particular account, and the alarm goes off, and you call your guard, and the guard is 10 minutes away, and he's okay, I'm on my way, right? Hangs up the phone, starts driving over, right? Well, hey, he shows up. What's his ability to call back the call center and say, hey, man, I'm on site at 123 Enterprise. What's happening now? Well, have you tried calling into a call center? It's impossible, extremely rare. But with AI, you have a direct agent linked on that. You push a button on your phone, not an application, a text message response. What's happening on scene now? Well, there's 2 people now. Where they set a fire now? Well, the door's unlocked. Well, there's nobody there. Okay. Situational awareness up to date in the moment. Helps me with response, helps me with reporting, helps me keep guards and responders safe. It's all kinds of good. And this is how that scenario changes, right? Because we're getting the response out and we're revolutionizing that entire space of business. Now, I'm not up here, being a evangelist for some future technology. I'm telling you that it's happening right now, all over the place, and it's creating a wave, and we really have 12 to 18 months at which the new incumbents in the space are going to be established, and where this thing is really going to take off. We're at the very beginning of this curve. There's a well-known business concept, and I don't know the guy who did it, but some guy did it, obviously, and it's called the technology adoption curve. And if you went to business school for a minute, you probably looked at the curve, and the curve is like a sine wave, right? And the very beginning of the wave, it's called the innovator adopters. The next bigger phase are the early adopters, but the first phase is the innovator adopters. 2 to 4% of your total market, depending on the situation, is your innovator adopters. We're scratching the surface on the innovator adopters right now. But then we go into the early adopters, bigger chunk of business. And then we go into early mainstream. And then we go late mainstream on the other side of the curve. It's going to go fast. And we're doing it. Now, let's talk about what that means for us as people, as employees and business owners, industry executives that are making our living and making our career out of this business. And I think I'm almost 30 years in from starting a systems integrator in Southern California when I first moved to the States, and then having various roles to doing this for the last 10 years. We're changing the jobs, okay? And change is a little bit of a PC word for there's going to be jobs that are going to be lost. No question about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. Transformation brings change. Change brings job loss. But we're going to talk about how that changes and where those specific things change. If you're moving information from A to B, you're probably at risk. Because it's just easy to do with AI now. That whole center point of the business that I showed on the earlier slides is replicated by AI now, like today. It will be the norm in the next 1 to 2 years. So all those jobs are at risk. But what's happening is that it's opening up something that I really, really love. And it's opening up higher level roles for those people that stay. That security systems operator making $1 over minimum wage, yeah. If they don't improve their skills, if they don't lean into this, they're at risk. That's how life is. But if you're a senior operator and you lean in and you say, hey, I want to work the AI tools. I want to dispatch and monitor the agents. Okay, great. And guess what? You're probably going to earn a lot more money. It's probably going to be a real career. It's probably going to be a job that your employer values in you and pays you more so you stay. So we're going to lose some basic jobs. Absolutely we are. And we're going to create a new high mid-level, smaller than we had before. Now, what we've seen in the banking analogy and the telecom analogy is that because we're going to lower the costs of the services to the customers, we're going to open up the market to more customers and be able to grow and expand our business. In the aggregate, over time, I expect employment to increase in the industry, not decrease. More first responder guards, more support for them, more salespeople, more account managers, all that stuff. If we could increase our business in the aggregate by 20 or 30 times. So it's pretty interesting. Now, there's an example here that kind of struck me because I remember flying in the 70s and 80s, and I remember the cockpits full of 4 pilots, navigator, it'd be a navigator, this and that. And now it's down to 2. And it's just a good example. Hey, did the airline industry contract? No, it didn't. It massively expanded and it made airfare more accessible. I'm pushing that point because the guarding folks in here, the folks that are looking at this and are modifying in their minds, their businesses, their careers, have to be brave as well to say, I have to change the price I offer my customers because my costs changed. And if I don't do it, the guy next to me is going to do it, and he's going to scoop up the business. So instead of maybe charging $150 a month per camera for monitoring, I'm going to charge $50 because it doesn't matter, because it's costing me $20 or whatever it's costing me, whatever, rough numbers. But I'm going to sell the response for $150 on an as-needed basis. Interesting how this changes. So we have all of the menial work covered by AI, managed by a human. We have human response. And at the end of this chain, we get to offer our customers what we've promised them from the beginning, which is better security. It's as simple as that. That's why this is an exciting time to be in security, and I'm glad to share this with you. The shift has started. Like I said, we're doing it across, we're doing it in parts of Canada and across really the world right now at a very early stage. It's very, very interesting what's happening right now. And it's going to go so fast again that the big companies just structurally aren't going to be able to move that fast, opening up opportunities for small and mid-sized businesses. And that really, assuming we've got small and mid-sized in this room here, opens up opportunity for you, which is what I kind of promised at the beginning of the session, which is offering you guys some ideas on how to manage your careers and organizations perhaps a little bit better. I want to leave you with a few different items here. The first thing is lean in. Try some systems. Don't be scared. It is happening. Simple as that. Just get into it. It'll grab you and you'll be into it. But you got to take that first step. You got to start learning now. Now, from my perspective, this is true. I bet more than my house on it. I tell you, I bet more than my house to kind of build this thing up and follow this vision that we have. And when I started it 10 years ago, and I would say this is coming, I was really on the fringe. I was really on the fringe with it. And now this is such a mainstream topic, and I get to share this, and it hopefully inspire people to make the change now. But yeah, I bet my house on it. I emptied all of our accounts and did all those things that not so founders do, and they are just focused beyond belief. So if that's any confidence for you, I hope it is, and I hope it encourages you to do the same.
Thank you so much. Super interesting to see AI and the impact it's going to have on this industry. A couple of questions came in. So starting with, how can organizations ensure transparency and trust when deploying these sorts of AI tools that influence real-time decisions and decision-making?
Really good question. How do we handle transparency? The first thing starts with disclosure. Awareness, consent has to happen. From a trust standpoint, it's critical that the systems that we're relying on are custom-built, mission-critical, and not a GPT wrapper or something like that. For example, we build our own VLM, right? That's tuned to security. So, and it's verified multiple times and stuff. So, properly done, I will bank on AI doing the job over human every time. And the example that I'll give is it's a little scary. For sure, it's a little scary. My wife has a Tesla. We have the self-driving Tesla. And the first time we tried it, it was, it was nerve-wracking. I don't know who's got one, who's done it, but it's a little nerve-wracking the first time. Now, it's like, I never want to drive again. It's, and the transformation took 5 minutes. So we'll have that same process of giving trust and having a tolerance for mistakes. I like to say that running these AIs is better than a human, but not perfect. We live in that space.
Thank you. As this AI reduces some of this manual intervention, how should organizations start to rethink? You talked about the role that frontline security would have, but what about kind of the training that we should be providing or thinking about for our frontline security with this?
Great question. I appreciate that. So what we're seeing, and I hope you guys are seeing it in this market here, because I'm seeing it in Toronto, is this move towards guard response because law enforcement is taxed and only responds in certain situations. So I encourage training on the responding guard side, because I think that that's now the tip of the spear, as opposed to how monitoring was the tip of the spear. Now it's that guard response. So enhanced training there. I think that managing and monitoring the AI systems isn't particularly difficult, and I think is very quick to train. So I really love the idea of the industry focusing on the response side now.
Perhaps along those lines a little bit, we talked a lot this morning about the human kindness and empathy and humility. In what ways can AI and these tools help guards use de-escalation techniques and other ways while considering kind of this approach of human kindness and empathy?
Yeah,
and
it's a great
responding?
question. And I love the empathy and consideration that AI has, well, much more than from a human. And the reason is that our reality, again, just being truthful, is we have inherent bias just by existing. It's just a human characteristic. And AI doesn't. So AI, I'm going to get a level response and engagement every time. It doesn't matter if I ran out of coffee an hour ago, or if I got in a fight with my spouse, or if my kid's sick and I'm under pressure. Doesn't matter. The response is even keeled every time. No bias, no differentiation in level of service. So when you're prepping the guard, it's a very, I don't want to say it's uplifting or clinical, but it lives somewhere in between there. It's not desperate. It's not confusing when you're engaging the guard, because you're setting up your first responder to go. And so I support that. I love that much more than a human response.
Excellent. Maybe just one more. Could you talk about some of the data privacy consideration piece to this, and using AI tools, how we can use them and still ensuring kind of our protection of data and people's privacy?
Big issue, a big issue. And, I'll lead off and I'll say there is risk. There's certainly risk. There's certainly new risks. If, a hacker could break into the IRS or the DOD, then nobody should be under any illusion that anything is protected or private. So it has to do now with executing proper policies to handle AI properly, dispatch it properly. AI itself is going to audit everything and log itself, and you'll have full transparency and full audit trails on everything and anything that happens. That's a huge advantage. But there is risk of risk for sure, and there always will be. Always will be. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Steve. Yeah, it's so interesting to see just the range of what the security industry actually is, and just having time to reflect on how we continue to evolve and support not just what we're doing today, but really looking at the future aspects of our industry is incredibly interesting. So thank you, Steve, for that.